like, we were on a high. I had just won 2 awards for like best emerging business. Like the team was really great. Obviously then COVID hit, and there was thousands a month that I had to like find.
And welcome back to the Mindset and Marketing Podcast. Here at the Mindset and Marketing Podcast, we cover 2 things, 2 of the most important things that we believe that you need to master to achieve everything that you want in life. 1, your mindset, and 2, marketing. Today is my final kind of guest appearance day for a while because Matthew will be back next week. So for today, I'm delighted to say that I have been joined by the lovely Stephanie Coyne from Face Aesthetics Clinic in Mayo. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi Sharon, how are you?
I'm not too bad. How are you today?
Good, thank you. Very good.
Well, thank you for joining us, because I know obviously it can be a bit nerve-wracking. It's new, but look, it's all good. We're all just here to chat.
That's it. Yeah. Sure, we do this on the phone, so I'm just pretending we're on the phone.
Sounds good. So yes, obviously just a wee bit about yourself, where you're at now, but we'll not get into it too much yet because we want to go back and just talk through your business journey. So you are obviously the founder and owner of Face Aesthetics Clinic in Mayo. And that is obviously a clinic where people can go in and get lots of different aesthetic treatments. Do you just want to explain a wee bit about what the business is now?
So Face Aesthetic Clinic is a skin focused, I suppose, clinic. So we offer all different treatments for all different skin concerns, from like acne, rosacea to obviously the popular anti-aging. So we kind of our ethos, our mission is to break down the niche that them treatments are only available in like bigger cities within Ireland. We've brought some of the biggest equipment and names in the industry to the west of Ireland. So like really opening up that amazing skin is for everybody, and it's not just niche, I suppose, to like more built up areas or cities, that you can get it in the west of Ireland as well.
Perfect. And for anybody who's actually watching the podcast, not just listening, we'll just have one look at your face, Stephanie, and see the benefits of the work that you do. Like you're actually glowing.
Well, I actually did a peel on myself on Friday and added in a thing that was literally going to make my skin peel. So like if I go up close, I'm slowly starting to peel, but
no, it looks amazing. Well, we'll get back into more about obviously your clinic later on, but I think as I'd said before, before jumping on, what we like to do is just kind of chat through. You're obviously a business owner now, you've got huge responsibilities and everything that comes with that. So it's kind of, and anyone listening is normally maybe at the beginning of that journey, or kind of in the middle of it and maybe feeling a bit tested. So for us, it's just kind of we always like going back to kind of how it all started initially. So in terms of, you didn't always run your own business, right? Were you what was your journey before this?
Yeah, well, I grew up in a family of all businesses. So for me, there's actually 14 years, a big gap between me and the next of my family. So there was 6 of them, and then I came along. And my dad owned businesses all over Ireland. So I was very much grew up in a business household. So like from a young age, you were always either licking envelopes for invoicing or something. You're always we all worked in the business, and out of all 7 of us, 5 of us own our own businesses. So it's definitely in the blood, or it's definitely in our family. So I always wanted to do beauty, and skin was always kind of my passion. I had very bad acne when I was a teenager, so I suppose I was always I was interested in ingredients and what I could do for my skin. My dad was very big on like education, because I suppose he had worked from when he was 14, and he always said, it's a very long life working, and like, enjoy yourself, like do college. So I did business studies in college, and it was fine. I loved the crack. It was the best part about the crack that got me through. Yeah, it wasn't the love for that, and I just wanted to be in beauty, and I did beauty, and I realized I hated beauty because I was no good at the like, I hated all the like nails and all the finicky things. So I worked anywhere I worked. I literally would build up a client base of facial clients. So like the people who own the business was always like, that's great, but like we have a wait list for brows. Everyone's having facials. So someone would come to me for their brows and I would make them come in and have a facial. So I kind of slowly realized that like, yeah, so another business had noticed that and brought me in as a facialist. So I was very lucky. I had loads of experience doing that. And then I actually opened up my own beauty salon in hairdressers in Galway. And again, thought I'd be able to run like all facials from there. But obviously the demand came, you know, obviously from the beauty for like nails and tans and all of that. So I had to hire somebody, and that opened up a whole different world that you don't realize when, like, you know, especially for, I think, like, you know, kind of tradespeople, like, you know, we do business to provide a service. It's not about the business side of things. And I think I just was like, oh, I just didn't know where I was. I didn't like it. I wasn't a good manager. I didn't know how to be a leader. I was only 24. I didn't know how to, be a leader for these people. I just wanted to do facials.
Yeah.
So I packed all that in and I applied to loads of places in the UK because I knew I couldn't get the experience I wanted in Ireland. So I applied on a Wednesday for a job that she rang me on the Thursday. I didn't tell her I didn't live in England. I flew over to England on Saturday and I'd done the interview. And then on the way home on the flight, she left me a voicemail, but like, I can't get through to you. The job is yours. You start on Monday. So then I flew back then on the Sunday night and I started my first day on the Monday, which was a training day. And it was about 4 days in that she heard me saying something about a hotel. And she was like, do you not live here in England? And I was like, no.
Oh my goodness. What a story though.
I know. Yeah,
that is unbelievable. That is
like, it's even like before we jumped on the call, I said to you, I don't think about things, I just jump in. I think then about 4 days in, I remember like bawling, crying to my sister, being like, oh my God, what have I done? And and then she gave me the best bit of advice. She was like, what are you looking at? I was like, Sainsbury's. And she was like, go in and get a bottle of wine and just have a glass, you'll be fine.
That's unbelievable. I was going to say, were you over there for a period of years?
I lived there then for years and I worked in that clinic for years, and that's where I really built up all, like, the owner of that clinic was amazing. Like, she was big into training, like she always had the best devices, the best skincare, like, you know, it was a really big company. There was one clinic when I started, when by the time I left there was 3 clinics. Like, she was very entrepreneurial, I suppose, you know, so it was great experience. And then I got approached by one of the companies that we worked for to become a trainer with them, so to train people in skin aesthetics, lasers, devices and all skincare. So then I worked with them for about 3 years. I covered all of the UK. So I worked in clinics all up and down all over the UK, and I loved it. I did love it, and I do still love the training aspect, but like when you go into them different clinics, you start to see different machines, and you know, you just kind of like, I want this, I want to work with these all the time. And you know, you wanted to see results from clients. I missed that part of it, the relationship with the client and the results. And then at the time, you know, there was just nothing really in the west of Ireland at all that was providing that kind of service. And I had friends and family that were like traveling to Dublin and places like that just have treatments done, and they're like, you know, sure, it's a treatment once every 4 or 6 weeks, sure, it's a day out or whatever, but then that kind of loses its thing as well. So they kind of said, you know, you really should come home and open something that would open up the gates, like, you know, to the west of Ireland, given your experience and I suppose contacts within the industry.
Wow. There's a lot to kind of unpack there, you know, because whenever we've had a few guests on now, you know, and what we're starting to see is kind of some similarities in terms of different little elements that have to kind of come together that maybe you don't necessarily, well, you do think, but when you reflect back, there's kind of a bit of a formula there to kind of start your own business, you know. So like with you, obviously, first of all, one of the big things that comes up all the time is, you know, education and experience. You know, so obviously right from the get-go, you had an idea of kind of the sector that you were heading towards. but then you had an insight to kind of think, I need to like learn as much as I can, you know, I need to kind of be the best in this. And not to mention like the big life-changing event that would have created for you by moving away. Like, did you know anybody over there?
No,
Or?
no, nobody at all. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but anyway, it was Leeds I moved to, and for some reason in my head, I was thinking of Luton. So I actually thought I was outside London, and I was like, had said, I said to one of the girls in the train, and I was like, I just can't wait to be like, you know, popping into London, and like, and she was like, that's like 3 hours away.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
And
so
like, so there's a lot to kind of like, so even then, what were you feeling then? Was your head just in the goal, you know, to get there? Like, I know you mentioned there you kind of broke down a bit once the reality, you know, set in, but you know, before you kind of went over, were you just like, I'm doing whatever it takes, you know?
Yeah, well, see, because I never thought I was going to ever open a business again. So I was like, I just knew I wanted to, I just wanted to learn all this like advanced thing. I suppose it was just so, I don't know, like attractive or something to me. Like it just was like, I just knew when I got there, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And I hadn't had that for so long because I always thought I knew what I wanted, but I couldn't find that niche, which was solely skin. Because no one in Ireland, and even really still now, there's a lot of places that are dipping into it, you know, like they do nails, tans, facials, everything, but no one was solely experienced and focusing on like the skin. Like it is a different industry in its own, whereas that's what I got when I moved to England. So yeah, no, I just like I suppose my love and passion for that outweighed anything else, you know.
Yeah. And that's what I tend to find is another trait, you know, with a lot of business owners. They are a bit more prone to taking risks, you know, rather than sometimes what happens is when people are kind of looking to start a new journey, whatever it might be, they sometimes get a bit kind of overwhelmed and maybe a bit of fear kicks in, you know, and they're kind of thinking, what about this, and kind of what I'm noticing now when the more people that we speak to in terms of they own their own business, they are more prepared to just, you know, bite the bullet and go for it, you know, and kind of take those risks because that's what's needed. You know?
No, I definitely, even like I would have a lot of friends that have businesses, and that would be the same trait with all of us, you know, like, you know, we do joke about it, like, you know, that, you know, we are risk takers, like that is something you do. But like, I suppose I was very lucky with the family I had as well. Like, you know, I remember ringing my mom and I was like, oh, by the way, I'm moving to England. I'm on my way. I'm moving to England. And she's like, oh, that's great. You're not, we live our Knock Airport, which everyone's obsessed with in the west of Ireland. Mom's like, sure, it's great with Knock Airport. Sure, you can just come home with €40 Ryanair flight. Like, you know, as in like, you know, I was always just like, yeah, sure, go try it. Like, you know, there was never, and no one ever stopped me. Like obviously friends would think I was mad, but like my family were like, sure, it's only €40 back in a flight, like won't you be grand?
That's amazing. That's so good.
Yeah.
And then so then you went over, you got all of your experience, and then you've obviously found a niche. And that's another thing, you know, that you just mentioned there, and it's always something that we try and say to any client that we're kind of working with, you know, don't try and do absolutely, you know, everything. Like, do try and niche down, because the more that you can niche, then the better you can be at that particular thing, whether it's a product or whether it's a service. You know, like if you're trying to do it all, it's more difficult to like stay at the top, you know, of
completely.
That game.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. Like I when I like interview people and they may be working in like a salon, for example, like, and I don't understand how you could be talking to someone doing their spray tan that's gone out on a Saturday night to suddenly going into like a room and like talking to somebody about their acne, and like, you know, that it comes with a lot of therapy as well, and, you know, understanding someone and their body and how it's working, to like then going out and putting shellac on someone's hands. Like, you know, it's a lot to ask of somebody, you know.
And that's probably why it's so successful, you know, because you did niche down. So you got your experience, and then you identified your niche, and you came back to Ireland. And then is this when you opened your clinic?
Yeah, so again, I kind of jumped into that as well a bit. I just was like, so yeah, somebody had said it to me, and I was like, oh yeah, it's a great idea. And then I came back, I think it was St. Paddy's weekend, and I went into the banks, and I was like, told them my idea, and they were like, oh yeah, of course you get a loan for that, no problem, like, of course you will. So I was like, all right, went back, handed in my notice. And then I was very lucky. The company I was working for actually, like, when I gone down that, but they had kind of said, you know, we want to work with you more, and like, actually, you know, would you be interested in doing a partnership with the clinic? So they would set me up with their equipment and their products and things like that, and would I set that up? So then, of course, I thought, oh my God, like everybody wants me, and but that the banks will give me money. This, like, it was all this, like, you know, kind of fantasy, I suppose. And then I was like, no, I won't do what they want, because again, that's going against me going into all these clinics and seeing unreal equipment. And, you know, I knew if I'd cherry pick from all the places I'd visited what I wanted to have in a clinic. And so yeah, but they had kind of said your job would be there if it doesn't work out. So I suppose that was a bit of a cushion as well. And again, I was like, sure, it's only €40 out of knock to go back. So
It's always back to sure, it's only 40
yeah,
euro.
it's only 20 minutes up the road to knock. And so yeah, so then I came back, and then obviously realized that, like, it was, yeah, not as easy to open up your own business, and you needed a lot of money. And yeah, so yeah, I moved home in the 1st of June, and I finally was open on the 9th of December that year then. So nearly about 6 months. Yeah, about 6 months, I think. Yeah.
And did you anticipate it being about a 6 month process, or what way did that kind of, because this is always kind of something that we come across as well, you know, people maybe don't realize, they don't think it's going to be easy, right? But they also were kind of forgetful, or not really thinking about the journey that it takes to, like, especially for you, if you've got a premises as well, you know, like, so there's investment there. So thinking about kind of the building of the business, if you like.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's, again, I didn't think about it. So I just jumped into it, and then it was suddenly like, I just loved the I suppose the chase of, like, going into the banks, and like I was kind of working one bank off the other bank and saying, like, you know, oh, this bank's going to give me that, and I was trying to get leasing here and loan there. I suppose I just got caught up in the whole, the kind of wheeling and dealing, and I loved going out, and I loved the, like, reps coming and, like, pampering me with, like, free product to get, like, I loved all that. And then suddenly it was, like, ready to open, and I was supposed to open on the 9th of December, and like that, or the 1st of December, I absolutely freaked out, because I suddenly was like, oh my God, I hate owning a business, and I don't know what I don't want this, actually. And I was like, flip it, I have to open, I've all this leasing and loan now and everything. So no, thankfully then I finally gave it another week and opened up. So yeah, no, I didn't think about the process or any of that, which is probably a good thing, because if I did, I probably never would have done it.
Yeah, yeah. And whenever you were opening up, was that you on your own at the start for the
Yeah,
first bit?
no, so I actually did hire someone straight away, because I knew, like, obviously when you have, so all the machines that I have, like, you know, there's a lot of leasing, there was loans, like, I wouldn't have been able to do it on my own. So this girl had no experience. She'd no experience, but she had the same work ethic as me. And I just knew when I had met her, like, she was really driven. It was like me years ago, like, she just wanted skin and all that, and she wasn't been given a chance where she had worked. And so she kind of came in as an apprentice, but really she just ran the front of house for me for, like, maybe the first 6 months, and she, like, ate every book, everything she learned. Like, I was always like, I wish I had her training. Because she, after 6 months, like, she just had all that time to study and learn, but, like, she had the ambition to do that. And you don't find that everywhere. So yeah, so my business would never have been where it is today if it hadn't have been for her, because she allowed me, you know, she could have been like, oh, it's not fair, she's not even let me do a facial, or, you know, she allowed me to grow it and to really, yeah. So yeah, it was, I was very lucky with the girl that I had started with.
Yeah. And I think that's something that, you know, people always kind of need to be a bit mindful of, because especially if you've kind of, you know, built up, like, years of experience, and, like, you're figuring all that out, and you're maybe providing the services either with, like, another company, or maybe you're just kind of running it as, like, a side hustle. the minute it then turns into like a fully fledged up 24 or whatever business, then there's more than just having to actually to provide the service, like you say. There's the managing of everything, there's the bank conversations, there's all of the admin that goes behind it, and 'cause as you get busier, the workload gets more. So some people can and I think some people then think, oh goodness, like what am I going to do here? I don't have time to do this and that. And like you rightly said, it's trying to then get somebody else to kind of take that load and try and help, so you can focus on what it is that you do best.
Yeah, exactly. And also because I felt as well, nobody knew what we were doing. Like people literally were walking in but like, what's this place? and and I remember that in the beginning I always wanted to call it Face Aesthetic Clinic, and so many people I met had said, oh, you need to call it like Face Skin or Face, and I was like, I know no one knows what aesthetic is, but they will in years, because I knew how big it was in England, and I was like, I don't want to miss out on having that name, and not be that full authentic aesthetic clinic that we were going to be, just to change it for what people wanted it to be, if that makes sense. And so the girl who was working there at the time, she was great, because people literally walked in asking what we were doing. So she was a little bit of marketing on that front of house as well, while I was busy in the treatment room, I suppose. So the doors were like always open, there was always someone there to answer questions and that. And so I really needed that support when I opened.
Whenever people are maybe starting out, they're kind of thinking, I think a big fear for a lot of people is like, how do I get, my first clients? Like, where are they coming from? Like, how was that process for you? Did you think that, or how did that?
Oh yeah, massively, because I'm not even from the town I opened up in. And
you just making it harder.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then in one way, but then another way it was kind of good, because then people kind of was like, oh, sure, we don't know her, you know what I mean? As in, they nearly, because I suppose where I'm from, people would be nearly like embarrassed in the beginning to like be having a skin treatment done, or to let people know. So actually, people used to say that, like, what's great, you're not from around here. But I started then on social media, because that was a big as well in the UK. Like a lot of clinics were starting to build good content on social media, and it just wasn't big. Like this was 7 years ago. It just was only becoming kind of big in Ireland. So I kind of just started, like on social media, kind of like explaining like what like a hydrofacial was, or what a laser was, what IPL was. So I feel like people kind of that really built my business. But like in the beginning I was like, who's going to come in? Like no one knows what we're doing. Like there's already people doing some of the same things we're doing within a beauty like environment. Like I hadn't a clue where I was going to get them. I didn't think about it though too much.
Well you did though, in a way, because like you say, you jumped onto the socials. And obviously, if you've got like a physical location too, if you've got your branding and all of that, people are going to walk past, and it's about kind of making sure that environment feels inviting, and allowing them to kind of come in. Social media, how do you feel about that?
Yeah,
people, it's like Marmite. People love it or hate it. What's your thoughts?
Do you know what? Like I love it in the way that like I love it for information, and I love it. But like I suppose it's like everything. Like it's good and bad. Do you know what? It's both good and bad. But for me, it was great to like get our message. Like it was great for someone sitting at home being like, even now still, like people come in and they'll say, I don't know what a skin peel is. Like, I don't know what this is. Like, I did a peel on myself on Friday, and I did that on Instagram. And like the amount of people that rang or came in afterwards, like, I kind of forget. I'm not as big as doing it as I used to be. But like, they're like, oh God, like, like people are worried about different things, or they just don't know, So I suppose it's just being real. And like then I came on the next day with like no makeup on in my bed, and I was like, this is what it looks like the next day, this is what it looks like. And then people understand it's not scary or it's not anything. So I think for me it's a really great way for people to understand, like even like Botox. Like when we first opened, everyone thought that's all we done was Botox. Like that's all we done all day, and we don't even do that. We rent out a room to a doctor who does it. So it's just, I suppose, a lot of the time people are like, oh, I just thought all you done was Botox, or whatever. Like it's a good way to get your word out there, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, that's another big point as well. Because you mentioned there, the type of content you're sharing, and like it's educational, you're kind of explaining to people, and as well, you're putting your face behind the brand, and that's kind of advice like that we're always giving, to clients is like by sharing like and explaining and educating people on how the services work, it's kind of already shifting their mindset to seeing you, as an authority figure in that industry. And also then it's given them the confidence, to kind of go, okay, well, this is kind of the people I'm kind of going to be dealing with if I go there.
Yes,
And
exactly, yeah. And I think that that's a big thing, like definitely, like who is it? It's like I always say to like any of my team members as well, like sometimes when people walk in there, it's like maybe me walking into a dentist or something, like, you can be a bit nervous. Whereas I suppose if you see me sitting in my bed after having a peel done, you're kind of like, oh, that's not that bad, and that's who we're going to be meeting when we go in. Like, she doesn't take herself too seriously, or, like it's, skin is fun. Like everyone wants to look good, like it doesn't have to be a serious thing.
okay, yeah, it's so important. It's so important to show up. It can be. I know you said there's good and bad. The bad is maybe how time consuming it can be, and
Yeah, and I suppose there's also the thing of like they can be very influencers are great and they have a place and stuff like that, but like influencers again that's a paid job for somebody. So like it's hard sometimes when a client come in and is using something wrong, or they've done something, they're like, oh, because X whoever is doing it on Instagram, and you're like, oh, they're been paid to say that and do that. So sometimes that kind of that's kind of, I suppose, for me the bad, because like a lot of influencers will sell skincare online, and it might not be, like I remember I had a girl before who's really lovely and everything, and she had said that we cured her acne, and like we didn't. She was using wrong products, and then we fixed that, so she didn't really have acne, she just was having breakout. But like, I mean, our phone lines nearly broke with like the world contacting us thinking we could cure acne. So like, it's good, and it has its thing.
yeah, miss it kind of maybe potentially being missold or
Yes,
misrepresented.
yeah, exactly, because everyone's journey is different.
Yeah. Well, I think like for us, because we've obviously spoke for a number of years now, just working with Bankhouse. And I remember whenever we were kind of working together just on, some of the content for your socials, and you were just thinking, my goodness, like I know what I've kind of to say, but I'm struggling to kind of structure it or fit it into the day. And also you were kind of thinking, and a lot of people have this fear of kind of getting in front of the camera and saying those things and sharing that. It feels a bit vulnerable. Like, how did you kind of get through, like whenever you first went on to the socials and started talking and doing your thing, were you not thinking about it? Were you just like, whatever, how did that?
So I suppose when I first went on, it was so easy because no one else was doing the same thing. So like it was, and then I didn't really have a big following, and I just felt like I was just chatting to my phone, like it wasn't I just didn't. But definitely later on in years, and even now, like I find it more difficult because I suppose more people are watching, and everyone now has an opinion. There's so many different, like every clinic now is talking on Instagram, and everyone thinks that their service and their thing is the best. So I just sometimes felt like, oh, I don't know how to, I don't want to be that person to like diss somebody else or someone else's thing. So you just get into your head a little bit, rather than just making it about like doing a simple peel, or things like that. Like, yeah. And then like, sometimes then people's graphics are really cool, and it just like, yes, when social media kind of blew up, it became really, I found it harder to get on in front of the camera, just because, yeah, I felt like I was maybe been judged more, but I mightn't have been. It could have been in my head,
I know. Well, this is one of the things that just comes with you, like, owning a business and that journey. Like, as you grow, the pressures probably get a little bit higher, but then the benefits hopefully then, outweigh that. So, before you're on your own kind of just doing your thing, and now you realize, here, I'm actually a big player here, and there's other people now watching me. And then you kind of get that, pressure. And I think that's obviously why we're always like mindset and marketing, because, your mindset just can do amazing things for you, but also, you know, it can cause you kind of to have a few hurdles that you need to figure out how to overcome. And I think that, you know, whenever you said it there, it's just like recognizing, you know, when it's kind of in your head, and then thinking like those other people, they're probably out there thinking, you know, the same thing and keeping an
Yeah.
eye on me, and you tend to kind
Yeah,
of
of course.
forget.
And that's it. Like, it's one thing I've always done, and I still do now, is I don't follow other clinics because I don't want to know what they're doing in the way. Like, I'll follow them to be nice, like to give them the like, but I won't. I switch off that I can see their stuff, because then you do be like, oh, I should have said that, or she said that, and like, oh yeah, I know friends that have got really bogged down and like, oh, I talked about vitamin C, and then this clinic did then the next day, and it's like, yeah, you can get a bit like competitive, I suppose.
I think as well, probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, the longer you're doing social media, obviously that means you have to create more content. You know, so at the start, it's probably a little bit easier too, because there was no content that was already there. So you've got a list of content that you can create, and then now you're 7 years in, and you're like, right, what new content do I have?
Yeah, and that's it exactly. And then, like, just say for example, like if I talked about SPF like 6 months ago, like in my head, I'm like, oh, I can't talk about that again. But you forget that like you can, because people are just flicking, you know, on some. And that was one thing I've really learned, is like, especially with me, like, you know, we renovated our house. So like all my social media became about people who are renovating their houses. Like because I thought we would build originally. So then I stopped watching anyone who was doing new builds. I just wanted renovations. And it was like, you know, you really start watching, you know, your Instagram becomes about that. So I realized that like I could be talking on Instagram, and then no, that person mightn't really care, but then they become a bride or something happens, and suddenly then they might be all about my information. So I think people who are watching it all different times of their life and everything. So you probably could keep just turning out the same thing every couple of months, you know. It will mean something different to different people.
100%. And that's kind of that's a key one there. You know, whenever you are starting out, you know, you'll probably find it a bit easier. As you go on, it might be a bit more difficult, but don't overthink it, you know, because like you said, you know, a lot of people actually like a bit of consistency too. So, you know, if they hear you talking about the same kind of things, you know, that's just drilling that into their heads. And the thing is, you can talk about, you know, say you're talking about SPF, you can talk about that in a million different ways. You know, it's literally, you could be in the clinic one day, or it could be sunny out and you could be walking down the high street or whatever, and it's all kind of varied. But the whole thing about, you know, building a brand anyway is people want consistency. You know, they want to start to, whenever they're hearing or watching you or your business, they want to start to get familiar with kind of what it is that you're saying and what you do, you know. So yeah, I think that is a big one, like for people that maybe are at that part now where they're a couple of years in and they're going, gosh, I don't know what else to do. Like, you can repurpose it all
Yeah,
the time. Like,
completely.
don't
Yeah, and I
overthink it.
think one big thing with social media is that like I got this fear as well. Like if I be in Tesco and I'm like, somebody'd say hi to me and you get really embarrassed, like, or someone say, oh, I saw you on talking about this or whatever. And like sometimes you get people who do it in a bit of like a laughy way at you. And then some people who are like, God, fair play to you. But like, I think that's one thing like that I've just learned, is that like someone who's kind of laughing at you, it's just because they wouldn't be able to do it themselves. And then there will be people that will cheer you on. And, you know, at the end of the day, like I have a lot of information. I'm just giving it out there. If you don't like it, don't follow, do you know? And if you do like it, then I'm delighted that you like it, do you know? So like, you know, you can really get in your head about that. Like, and I have a lot of friends that would get really in their head about having makeup on and their hair wasn't done and their you know, the background didn't look right or whatever. But like really, you know, people think I really feel that people are just more thankful for the information than like caring what if your hair was brushed or not, do you know?
I know, because really, you know, that's not if you think about, like, and when people are creating content, you know, it should always be kind of with the customer in mind. You know, that customer doesn't really give two craps if you're the most gorgeous person in the world. You know, what they care about is how you can help them with whatever skin concerns or issues that they have, you know. And I think that's, and as well, because there's so much competition now, you know, online, with, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, we're all going to face that. um that's why it's so important to kind of have your brand's personality, you know, at the front of that, and to kind of just give insights into like who you are and, you know, who your team are, because that's what sets you apart as well. You know, the experience does, but coming from yous, you know, just brings that up another level. Whenever you were kind of playing about with your social content, because obviously I've seen your social channels, and congratulations, because they are amazing. Well done. You obviously have it's not all, you have a bit of humor online as well. Like, it's not all just kind of serious skin talk, you know. You're kind of, how did you kind of, was that a decision that you made at the start to kind of, you know, just show kind of all sides, or were you kind of thinking,
yeah, well, I think we know I don't really make decisions. I just jump straight in. No, I suppose that is my personality. Like, I suppose I would be like kind of bubbly, like, you know, I love the crack and everything. So like that would be my personality. And I think like, you know, it's, for me, it was more about education, you know, like trying to like educate somebody, like, about, like, that's why I try not to talk about sometimes brands. It's more ingredients and technologies rather than like my laser versus another laser, like, to give that out. But like, obviously, like, it's nice to do that in a fun way as well, you know. So yeah, I think it's probably just more of a natural thing than I'm thinking about it type thing.
And I think though that's a strong point of you know, your brand is kind of having that, even if it did come naturally, because nowadays, you know, everyone's online, and, you know, TikTok is going crazy, and it's all a bit more lighthearted and a bit more, you know, kind of fun. So people, I think, expect that, and they also expect a lot more from brands now. You know, it used to be that you could just put up a post and, you know, not really put your face behind it, or do whatever. And now even the big brands like Coca-Cola or whoever it might be, they're having to share content of, you know, their team, you know, doing things outside of the actual product.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. And like, I think for us as well, like, you know, in work, like, a lot of the time we can be doing big treatments on people that require a lot of pre-care and a lot of post-care. So there is a real seriousness sometimes, you know. So like, it's also, you know, if you can't get stuck on that either, like, it's nice to have like a bit of fun, you know, and be like, oh, we have a free hour, let's like do a funny video, like, you know, or, you know, it's just, it kind of gets you a bit like, it's kind of a little bit of team bonding as well, but also like, yeah, just like having just a little bit of fun and work, you know.
We need it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you opened up about 7 years ago, around, was it the 9th then, after your week of...
yeah, the 9th of December, yeah, finally, yeah. Well, I actually wanted to push it out till January, and like, everyone was like, no, you need to get open before Christmas for vouchers. So yeah, that was my push. I opened.
Brilliant. So whenever you opened up then, like, was it like a smooth, were you just enjoying it for the first few months? Like, how did it feel when you first started? You know, was it over, like, what were the emotions that were going on for the first few months?
No, like, I just loved it. Like, I absolutely loved it, because like, I suppose I had all the experience, especially when the training brought on a whole different level of like knowledge, I suppose, that I had. Like, I had training where I could, like, I was training doctors and nurses and medical people, but also therapists. So like, this was all new now. I now was talking back to clients again, you know, and I had picked all the best treatments that I wanted to do. We were the only ones doing this around, you know. So yeah, like, it was a high. Like, I absolutely loved it.
Brilliant. See, positive vibes. Anyone out there who can start a business?
Yes,
it's all fun.
It
is. So now, if we fast forward, obviously the business has been open. 7 years now, is that it?
That's it. Yeah, this is the 7. Yeah, so it'll be 7 years. Sorry, in December. Yeah,
7 years in December. Congrats again on that. And from, if you kind of think on the last kind of from opening to now, what were maybe some of the biggest kind of hurdles that you maybe had to kind of overcome, that you maybe not even thought about? You might have known they were coming or whatever, but yeah, what were some of the biggest challenges?
Yeah, so like, I suppose obviously when you open and you're new, like, nobody else likes that. Well, not so to be so direct, but like, then suddenly like you'd other businesses then that were kind of, suppose, I don't want to say copying, but like nearly like everyone kind of started bringing out the same machines I had, the same brands, like everyone was trying to like do what I was doing, which was such a big hurdle for me, because in the UK it's very much like no two clinics would ever copy each other. Like people like to be different, whereas in Ireland everybody wants what everyone has, and I didn't realize that. So that was like a massive hurdle. And also I suppose in England people weren't really into the products, they were really into services, whereas in Ireland everyone loved the product. And I found that really hard, because product is great and it preps and post cares the skin, but like a treatment is where the real result is, so to try and get that message out. But I suppose the biggest hurdle obviously was COVID. Yeah, am I allowed to mention that? I don't know. Yeah, it is. So yeah, obviously COVID was crazy, because I suppose, like, we were on a high. I had just won 2 awards for like best emerging business. Like the team was really great. We were bringing out, we had massive plans for 2020, and obviously then COVID hit, and like I had all the leasing, all like loans, rent. I had to pay my rent throughout, heating, electric, all of that. Like, so there was thousands a month that I had to like find, and
without being allowed to obviously make money, because
make money.
was
Yeah,
closed.
exactly. Yeah, and I, as much as I didn't really have a support, I was single. I didn't have anyone really, not that other people had helped, but you know what I mean, I just was very much on my own. So I had to move my business to like an online shop. So I ended up like working like completely online, selling, doing skin consultations and selling online, and it was very successful. Like it was, it paid all the bills. Like I wouldn't say we made money, but I definitely reopened not having any debt, which was amazing. And
which is wow.
yeah,
That's
I know
an achievement.
what. Yeah, and like we were very lucky. We were allowed to warehouse the VAT and stuff at the time, so like that was probably the only debt I came back to, which I had like a payment plan for that. But yeah, no debt. I paid everything up. I didn't know anything, so that was amazing. But what happened was I had kind of developed a new business, and my team weren't in that. And we kind of came back, and the dynamics were just completely different, because I suppose I was burnt out as well. I also became pregnant in that time and had a baby.
Just do it all.
Yeah. And I mean, like I was working, like things come up in my memories still on my phone, and it's like, I was working like 12 hours a day, like in in a little bedroom in my house, and because sorry, I was working in a bedroom in my house, and the reason I was saying as well, I like to pay all the electrics and stuff, is because the machines that I have in work, they need heat, they can't be left in cold. So there was like, then I ended up moving my shop up there, and like, yeah, it was all different, a whole different dynamic had kind of gone on within the business. And I suppose when we really reopened in 2021, like the team was just completely different, because some people had gone off and they'd studied like accountancy, and people had done different things, and some people wanted to be a part of the team during COVID, and some people were like, I'm switching off 100%, I don't want to think about work ever. So you'd people who had 2 years of like complete chill out, me who was like working 24 hours a day flat out. Like I was packing boxes at like 9 p.m. at night, and I ended up having my baby at 8 o'clock in the morning the following morning. And even when she was actually had to stay in Skaboo, the neonatal, and like literally when I came out, I was like back in. Even the guy from DPD was like, did you not just have a baby? And or no, it was actually the DPD guy called, and I had her on my arm, and he was just like, whoa, like you were just pregnant last week, like what's happening? And I had like all these boxes, like 30 deliveries to go out. And and then obviously we reopened, and that I think was completely changed my business forever then, because the team, it was all the dynamics had just completely changed. Everyone was different. We'd all kind of grown apart, and then we were trying to just go back to the way it was, and it just wasn't the way it was.
I think a lot of people noticed a big shift, you know, when after lockdown, you know, people's mindsets, like I think obviously there was a lot of kind of fear and worry, and like, you know, nobody ever believed that this was possible, you know, that this could actually happen. And then whenever it did happen, I think everyone was then kind of looking at their life and like valuing, you know, saying to myself, right, what is actually important here? And it caused a lot of people to kind of shift and try and explore something else. And because I think we all, you know, noticed that. We even probably noticed it personally as well. Maybe not you, because you didn't have time, because you were doing. But you kind of, you know, it kind of put things into a bit of it kind of shocked and made people start looking at their life a bit more. But you know what? That's so interesting, because obviously as a business owner, you know, that's probably one of the biggest hurdles that I'd say a lot of business owners maybe had to go through. And the fact that, you know, you were able to go through all of that, and there's a few things in that. One, just kind of highlighting that, you know, you never know what's around the corner, and, you know, there's always going to be something. And at the end of the day, if it's your business, the buck kind of stops with you. So the pressure then, you know, is on you as a business owner to kind of show up to that. So, you know, it isn't all smooth sailing all the time, and if something big happens, you need to kind of roll your sleeves up and kind of get stuck in. And, you know, but not to scare people with that, because when it is your own business, you will want to do that anyway, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think if you have the passion and you are, you know, like, you know, yeah, exactly. Like it's kind of a natural thing. I think, you know, it's not a scary thing. And I'm so proud. Like I am so proud of what I done. Like, and that's been one of my. It's, even though it's been the biggest hurdle, it's been the biggest achievement as well. You know, so yeah, like. Yeah, so yeah, it is. It's all like, I love growth. I love change, I suppose. Like, as you can tell, I don't like sitting around and being boring. I like to like push myself to the limit. So yeah, like nothing like a pandemic to do that to you.
To do that to you. But
Yeah.
that is another thing as well, you know, that we're finding all of the time when we're chatting to business owners, that you always have to be prepared to kind of change direction. You know,
Yeah.
it's never just going to go like that, you
No.
know.
Yeah,
So
and I
it's
think
kind of,
again, yeah, when you were saying about the traits of different business or with business people, like I think that is something like I don't like I get bored easily. Do you know what I mean? Of things like I like the change and that. Even I don't like the not controlling of the change, because that's one thing. Like you're not really in control of what change is going to happen. But like, you know, having to think outside the box, and that like it's the challenges for me sometimes is the fun. I'm a bit weird.
yeah. You're like, bring me it again. Do
Yeah,
what
yeah,
you
yeah.
want.
No, 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 that's grand. But that's a once in a lifetime experience. Thanks.
No, only joking. Okay, so I mean, huge congratulations on getting through that and putting the work in, because it wouldn't have been easy. And not to mention, you know, one, the work that you have to do, but also the stresses and pressures of, you know, everything that comes with that. Because when it's your business, it's also your livelihood. You know, it's what's putting a roof over your head. And, you know, I guess that's why you do then have the ability to just like I say, roll your sleeves up and get it done. But yeah, fair play. So you came back out of COVID, and now here we are, it's going strong. Like, what about then the last kind of year or two of your business? Is it still changing, developing, or
Oh yeah, I feel like we're calling it now like phase 2.0, because even though the girls work say it should be 3.0, because COVID was the 2.0. But anyway, yeah, no, because then obviously, as I said, like the dynamics that completely changed within the team. The demand was massively there, and like for the business, I suppose. And I kind of done the age old thing that you should never do, and just started like hiring mad, not thinking back to what our core values were, what face was before. And not that it had to be the same, but like I still had the same culture that I wanted to work in, the same environment I wanted to work in, like, you know, the reason I opened up the business, the values. And yeah, we had a really tough year, to be honest, like with that, because people, like a lot of therapists were like that, had gone on and done different courses, and they were like, or people decided they were going to Australia or Canada. Like there was just a massive change in the industry. And I think a lot of people, I don't know if I think it is not just my industry, but you know, staff is a really big problem at the moment for a lot of industries. And you know, I was kind of just hiring to hire rather than I wasn't hiring the right fit. And because I'm a trainer as a background, I'm very much like, oh, I'll train them. It's a grand. They can start. I'll train them. But then me training them is very time consuming on me. And then if you're training a person that doesn't have your passion or your values or your, you know, then it's not never going to work, you know. So I had to do a big kind of restructuring of my business over the last year, which that's been probably a bigger hurdle than even COVID was in looking back, really, because you know you know, they say you need the right people in the right seats, but I didn't have the right people in the right seats, so I had to like kind of jig it all. And but now phase 2.0 is amazing. I am now hiring based on like our culture, our values. I'm not rushing into hiring someone. We're fully booked now until the end of August. I could easily just go out and get somebody to work, but I'm not. I'm finding the right person, and that all takes time.
I think that's a huge point, because you know, even if you Google the stats around, you know, basically like some of the highest costs to businesses, you know, is recruitment, you know, and is training and doing all of that. And because it's not just the money, you know, it's also the time, like you said, especially for a lot of our kind of listeners and kind of businesses that we work with, because they're kind of small to medium sized businesses. So, you know, it means that kind of all hands are on deck, and most likely that's going to be one of the business owners going to have to play a part, you know, in that whole process. So it does have a huge impact. And I think a lot of people, you know, maybe especially if you're just starting it for the first time and you're growing, you know, you might freak out a bit and you might think, well, I'll just get somebody in and then that means I can do this. But like you say, that's a temporary fix if you're not going to do it right.
And it's not even temporary, because then you've somebody, you're responsible for someone's like livelihood, and they're not in the right place, and they might just stay there because, you know, they need to get paid, and they might want to move on, or like they're happy but they don't realize they might not be bringing what we need to the business. That would be my one advice to anybody. And somebody had said it to me, like in Ireland, we're very fast to hire quick and fire slow. And, you know, we like really now, like I hire very slowly and I fire very fast. Well, not fire, but, you know, I do think we need to like, you know, performance manage or check, you know, people, they understand their role. Are they doing their role? And if not, what can we do to help that? Or is it the role for them? So I have spent a year doing that, you know, and I think kind of trying to figure that out with the team. And I'm very lucky. A lot of people who are in the wrong role realize, like, you know, they thought that coming into a skin environment, like I know it seems like good fun and the social media and that stuff, but again, you've people coming in with real problems like acne that they might have suffered all their life, like really, like, you know, different problems. And, you know, you have, it is a big responsibility to give them a result. And I don't think sometimes when people come into that, they realize it's not just the fun, or, you know, we're not doing facials all day. Like facials is the least thing that we do. They're big treatments, a lot of downtime, you know, a lot of like patient care, making sure you know, even after they leave. And a lot of people weren't able for that. They just thought they were coming in kind of doing a facial and that it was all just gonna be lovely with, you know, relaxing music on, and it's not that. But whereas I hired them not really been, you know, thinking that are they really going to be able for this? I kept thinking I'll train them, but yeah, you can't train passion and you can't train motivation. They're two things I've definitely learned.
Yeah, and it's so important, because like your team plays a massive part in your success, you know, whenever you start developing that out. If there's kind of one kind of stray there, you know, that just starts spreading, you know, like wildfire. Because, you know, say there's one person who's maybe not motivated or not got the passion, and then everyone else is working their ass off, and, you know, and then they're starting to get frustrated because, you know, whoever it is kind of getting kind of off the hook a wee bit. And I do think that is such an important, like we brought this up in the last podcast, and just really about, you know, when it comes to building a team, when you're at that part, when you're at that growth stage, like you rightly said, you know, don't rush into it, and like just really take the time to figure out, are they the right fit, you know?
Yeah, because like that as well, like, you know, like we are fully booked now and we are turning people away. That's very, very hard. But I'm in a way mentally happier place and way better place than where I would have been, where we had time available, but I had to drive people to try and want to do what, you know, they kind of should have been doing, if that makes sense. Like that's you know, you can kind of go along, like, as in it'll catch up to you, I suppose, is my point. Like I kind of went around and put my head in the sand with it and kind of was like, oh sure, I'll just do extra treatments, I'll do an extra day to make up that slack, or I'll do this. But then it comes to it and it's like, you know, that person it might not be that happy because they're not in the right position for them, and I'm not that happy because I feel like I might be taking on more workload, you know, like it will catch up basically, you know. And I just think the team you have around you and developing the right team for your business and where you want to work every day, like that's the most invaluable thing I think in the last 7 years that I've learned, like the most invaluable. Like, you know, you go into work for longer than you're at home nearly, like who you're surrounded with, the people, like, you know, like now, like I very much a team of like can do attitude, nothing's too big of a problem, like let's problem solve this together. Like I feel even myself a part of a team, do you know, I feel like I'm, you know, rather than that I'm the owner, do you know. And that's just been life changing for like my personal life, like everything. Like you know, I've never not loved going to work, but I mean I love going to work now, do you know.
Yeah, and all because of that dynamic. And that's like, I think a big thing, you know, as a business owner, obviously you want, the main goal is to bring in you know, well, money, like you need to be bringing in the money and you want to be seeing that growth all the time. But sometimes people can actually get too fixated on the money and not think about, you know, everything else that comes around that, because you could be making, say you took on somebody else there just because to fill, you know, to get more in. Okay, you're making more money there, right? But then you have to pay that person, and then that person's actually having a bit of a knock-on effect. So the service is dipping, the morale is dipping. So in the end, future-proofing that a year later, you're probably going to be worse off, you know. And it's just trying to like
completely.
Yeah, it's just trying to like
and I
not,
even I was that person, yeah, do you know.
yeah,
And like that you keep thinking as well, like, oh, you know, maybe like it'll just need time or whatever. But yeah, no, like if I was to ever give anyone advice, it would definitely be to like know who you want to work with, know the like-minded people you want to be with, you know. And what's the culture you want in work, like who are the people you want to surround yourself with every day, do you know. And yeah, definitely to find that rather than just thinking you'll train that or change. You can't teach that to somebody.
and that's, you know what, I was talking about this the other day, and it was all about, you know, how the big brands are doing, like you had mentioned it already, that you've got, you know, your mission statement, your values, and you know, all of that, and all of the big companies are doing that. And the reason they're doing that is because, you know, they obviously have lots of people working for them, and they all need to know, you know, everything comes back to, you know, that mission and that value. So if there's somebody out there who's maybe starting a business and or in the middle of their business and don't have those wrote down, like it sounds so silly, but it's actually a big thing, because it allows you to always go back to that, and it allows your team to know what direction you're going in, and then it allows your clients to know, you're then attracting those type of clients.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like, you know, our values have changed as well over the years, because like now, and they change with like things personally, like obviously I became a mother, like I realized how important like work life balance is, you know. And you know, even like clients coming in, like I value their time so much, because I know they may have had to get like a childminder or something, you know, like there's so many different things, like, you know, that changes your. But I think as long as you keep, as long as you're open with your team and they understand, like that was another thing, like I've seen as well, and I've probably been doing it myself as well, as I had a mission but I wasn't telling people what that was, you know, like, and then I was expecting them to understand. Like nothing divides a team like that, you know. So like you do, I suppose that's like when I came back from COVID, I was this different business owner and I did different, you know, I knew the clients differently and I'd taken on new brands. But because we got so busy when we opened, I hadn't communicated that to everybody, you know, that we had changed a little bit. Yeah.
But I'm glad you said that, because I do think that a lot of people they underestimate, you know, the importance of those elements of your business, you know, and because you just get tied up with things, and you know, people are like, oh, that's an airy fairy statement. It's not, you know, that is the core of your business, you know.
It is, yeah. And I just think then everybody understands. So like that, if it is Coca-Cola and they've like millions of people working for them, or I don't know what it is, like how do you communicate that to everyone in different languages? You have to have it. And like, so does a small business, you know, like I think it's equally as important to either business. And yeah, and I think like that as well, as a business owner, like it does, you know, like if you want change, and like it does start with you. Do you know what I mean? Like you do have to, you know, be open and say like, this is what I want from the business. This is where we want to go. This is our like 3-year plan or 10-year plan. Like, are you in or you out? But do you know what I mean? Like, do you want to be a part of it? You know, whereas if you just keep that in your head, people are like, they don't know what your plan is, you know.
And also, it even goes back to, you know, if you're creating content for your social media channels, because you'll always, you know what your mission and your values are. So every bit of content you're creating is going to align with that, you know, and it kind of helps just kind of shape the messaging that's going out as well. You know, like you said there, our values have changed a bit because, you know, I'm a mom now and work-life balance. You know, your some of your messaging then may now have moved towards, you know, moms and, you know, that kind of thing as well. So not solely that, but it shapes everything, I think.
It does, it really does. Yeah. But that's what I think I love though as well about like business is, you know, like everyone will say it's my baby, but it is your baby, you know. So, and your baby does grow up and it starts to walk and talk and talk back to you.
And get you
yeah.
new obstacles.
Exactly, yeah. So like it, you know, you nearly have to treat it the same. Like my business is not the 2019 business, even though I tried to hold on to that for so long. It isn't that business, you know. And I might have gone through like a tough year or two with like different things, and that. But now, where my business is now, like I'm probably the most excited I've ever been about my business. Right now, because of all the learning and growth and everything, you know, it's an exciting time, you know.
Amazing. Well, before you go, I always ask, so no pressure, but I always ask, like, if you could kind of give one bit of like mindset advice or tip to somebody out there who's listening, who's thinking about starting their own business, you know, what would that be?
Oh my God, that is on the spot. Like a mindset, I suppose, to like that we talked about, like challenges and hurdles and something, and like something that I always have to remember to myself, and it was something my dad has always said to me, and it's, this too shall pass. Like, whatever situation you're in, like this too shall pass. And you know, I suppose to take a breath and maybe try and not enjoy the hurdle, but like know that there's learning in it. Like that's another thing my dad always said, like you're never losing, you're just learning. So like you're either winning or you're learning. And I think that's, for me, that's my mindset, that like when you're at rock bottom, which I have been, and you're at rock bottom and you want to shut it all down and you Google what bankruptcy and things like that, like there's so much learning. And like now I realize that that's where now I nearly love the learning that's in that growth. And that's where the growth comes, and you become out this other person. And like you can't go to college. Like I studied business and none of it really probably has you know, stood to me. Like there's nothing like life experience to give you that growth, and growth is good, you know, and we don't want to stay stagnant, we want to grow. And but so I find that growth does really come from them darker places. So yeah, this too shall pass.
That's a nice one.
Yeah.
And I think it is perfect. You know, I think it just outlines, I think if people really, because I've heard that saying before, but, you know, just in context after hearing about your journey, you know, over the last few years, like, I think really when you sit and like think about those words, you know, and remember those words in those moments, like, I think that can serve you so well, because, you know, they're, like you say, you know, life does, you know, it throws hurdles at us all the time, and they're not easy to overcome. But if you can navigate through them and just know that, you know, this isn't the end, you know, this could be the beginning of something great. And just taking that sentence and really thinking about those words to try and like just focus then on moving forward, you know.
Yeah, because I think if someone said that to you, you'd probably want to punch them in that time. But now it's very much that, like, yeah, you do just have to like kind of breathe in and just be like, this is just another challenge, like we can get over it, like you can get over it. And I think just having that mindset, yeah.
And if someone, you're right, at the time they will just want to punch you in the face, but then, in that moment, if anyone is going through that, just think about, you're in that moment now and you're feeling that about this. There would have been another time in your life when you were in a moment similar and you felt like that, and then look at how far you've come in that, so the proof is kind of in the pudding there. Like, sometimes whenever you're stuck in a moment, it's hard to get past it, but I think, like, even just taking those words and thinking about a time where you've applied them before, you'll actually see the benefit and just give you the strength, because sometimes, that's what you need. You need the strength to go forward.
Yeah, and like business is a roller coaster, and like that was another thing I'm probably saying all the stuff my dad used to say, but like what goes up must come down, like as in like it is a roller coaster, and when I am on a high, I do very much enjoy it, but I'm probably bad, but I do think, like there will be a low, so just enjoy this, like enjoy this time, take it, and when it comes into a low or something, falls on my desk or whatever happens, that like it's like, okay, now we're going to have to like grow and come through this now.
And it's all worth it in the end, right? I mean, you, like you say, you're probably in the happiest, most excited time of your life with your business now, through all those like intense lows with lockdown and everything. So
and I was going to shut my business at Christmas, so yeah.
Like that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
So guy, it's definitely worth it.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining me today.
Thank you, Sharon.
Really appreciate your open, honest conversations, and there's a lot to kind of unpack there, and I think a lot of people get benefit from just your experiences and sharing them with us. So thank you for that.
Good. I hope so. Yeah, thank you.
Guys, that's it for today's episode. For anybody who is in the Mayo region or maybe further afield as well, Stephanie, right?
Yeah, we're open. Yeah, we cover like from like Athlone to like Donegal, up to Galway, like so we've got great roads into Mayo now. So
great roads. So for anybody who is in that in those surrounding areas and are interested in improving their skin, their happiness, their lifestyle, please check out Face Aesthetics Clinic, faceaestheticclinic.ie, and that's where you'll find Stephanie and the team. And also, I know you mentioned products maybe not being the main source, but there's also amazing kind of products and that out there. So Stephanie, your team would be happy to kind of, chat to you and kind of engage with you just on any of the kind of online things as well. So check it out. And until the next time, I'll see you later.